So we're going to jump in now to Probuilder and see kind of how we use that to build up interesting environments and assets. And it kind of lets us do some of the stuff we can do in 3D modeling without necessarily needing a full 3D modeling package. So it's going to add like a tools tab here, but we don't have it installed yet. If we go Window, Package Manager, it's going to open up this Package Manager. If we want, we can dock the package manager here if we think we're going to be using a few different packages, or else we can let it just be free floating and close it. It's so hard, so annoying the way stuff gets stuck to. There we go. We can let it be free. I normally have it free floating and just open it up when I need it. And here at the minute, this is going to be on my assets because it's an asset I downloaded from the asset store. I'm now going to go assets and I'm going to go Unity registry. And this is all the sort of packages that Unity gives you that you can use to build projects and stuff like that. So stuff like if you want to do 2D animation, 2D pixel perfect games, if you want to do AR, AR kit face tracking, AR foundations, Cine Machine lets us do stuff with cameras, high definition pipeline. You might, if you're using JetBrains Rider, this might already be installed for you. There's Probuilder stuff, which we're going to be using in a second. There's Unity UI, which is probably in for everyone already. And then, yeah, there's some different like kind of plugins and stuff there. But what I'm going to do is go for Probuilder here, because that's the one I want. We're going to use that to build up our level. I'm going to hit install. Cool. And you'll see there when it's done, that window goes away and it shows us remove here. And so like once it's installed, it shows it's removed and there's a little tick here, or it shows we can remove it. And there's a tick. I'm going to close this. And if I come here now, this is going to show up in packages. So I should see here, there's a Probuilder package installed. Cool. And then I'm going to close that just so that my hierarchy is a little bit clearer. And I'm going to delete this ground plane because I'm not really going to use that anymore. And as I mentioned, this Tools tab shows up here, and I can go Tools, Probuilder, and I can open the Probuilder window. Now, we're going to go through some of this. There's a fair amount to this, and it is practice, and it's trying things out, and it's messing around and having stuff break and work and things like that. So I'm going to click this plus beside new shape. If I click new shape by default, it's just going to create a cube, a cylinder, because I think that's the last thing I was creating on this last night. So I'm just going to delete that. Instead, I'm going to hit the plus beside new shape. And I think I'm going to do, for the ground, I'm going to do as a cube. Okay. Now, Unity has these, what are called Unity units. I think they're called Unreal calls them UUs, which is Unreal units. But basically, one unit in Unity represents 1 meter in the real world. So we're going to make a platform that in the x-axis, which is this red arrow here. So if you're wondering X, Y, Z, it's R, G, and B. Okay, X, Y, Z, R, G, B. Okay, the colors correspond to the axes basically. So I find that a useful thing to remember. If I'm like, which one's the x-axis? I look at here and I'm like, oh, it's the red one. That's X because that's R. So let's say in the x-axis, I wanted to make this. Let's make something that's like maybe a hall. We'll make it like 10. I like leaving y at 0.2 because it's like a panel, and then I'll do 10. Let's do 8 or something like that. Okay, and this lets us create like a nice sort of room environment. Put that there. Now, what we're seeing here, this is not. If I press play here, you maybe see it in the game view. Okay, you just fall through because it's not actually built yet. Okay, so this is like a preview of the cube. So I need to hit build to get that to build. And you'll see then it basically creates it there. And this now exists within the world. On the y-axis, I'm going to set that to. Cool. So I can now walk around on that. My scene view window is very tiny. That's okay. Can live with that for now. But basically, that's my cube, and I've built that out like that. Okay, so then okay, cool. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, once we've the Probuilder window, oh, I was in play mode there and it was just the color reminded me. The preview here stays in place. Where's the preview? It's here until we close that window for it. Okay, so once we close that window, the preview goes away. That's just basically there so that we know what sort of tool we're working with if we hit the apply button. So I'm going to select this. There's these tools which are basically, they let us select the different aspects of the object. So there's object selection, which lets us select this whole cube object. And I'm just going to rename this floor. Or actually, I'll call this room maybe. Cool. So this is our floor. This is a vertex selection. So this lets us select individual points and move these around in 3D space. We can create bad geometry by doing this, but that's fine. We're going to undo that. If we select two vertices, we can basically move an edge. So like we're basically able to create a wedge or something like that. Or if we want, we can just select this edge by itself. Okay, so we can go to edge mode, select an edge, and that's going to drag that edge up. And then we can also select faces, or planes, or surfaces, but I call it faces. So we're going to select this. Then we can select the scale tool, which is R on the keyboard. Now, if we hold down Shift, it's going to do what's called like an extrude scale. So we can do this, hold down Shift, and that basically has allowed us create like these walls around this room. So we can now select this wall. If I hold down Control, I can select multiple. Might get a little bit tricky to do this. And if I select W and hold down Shift, okay, I now built out very quickly a room for my game using Probuilder, and it has all like the collisions and stuff like that built in. If I want to put a roof on this, I can basically hit new shape, and I'll show actually maybe the easiest way to do this is make this a child of room, reset its transform components so it's in the exact same position, and then I can move this up. Now one thing I want to do is like basically lock this to the box basically. So I want like these edges to be a perfect seam, and to do that, if I hold down V on the keyboard, it's going to do a vertex selection and I can basically snap that in place. So as long as I V on the keyboard, I'm going to undo there. Normally when I'm moving things, I'd have to like try and get it in the right place. Instead, once I've moved tool selected, I hold down V on the keyboard, and once I hover my mouse near any of the vertices on this, it's going to lock the cursor, lock the widget to this. I hold down that and I bring it near another vertex and it'll lock to it. Okay. So now if I press play, we'll have a pretty dark room. It's basically black. There's maybe a little bit of light getting in through a seam or something like that, but we can improve the light settings to get rid of that issue. But now I'm going to come inside this room. At the minute, it's completely dark. So I can hit this button here where there's a light bulb in the scene view, and that's going to turn on unlit mode. So that means we don't need lighting anymore, and it's just going to show us kind of what the room looks like. It's just basically, yeah, it's like a light attached to the camera. It's kind of how it works. So that lets us see what inside here is like. We can then go game object, 3D object, or sorry, game object light, and I'm going to create a point light. And again, this is where sometimes perspective can trick us a little. I'm going to put this light inside in the middle of this room. Somewhere like that. Okay, that's probably fine. And then I can go back to scene lighting, and here's how this light is lighting up this room. So now if I'm going to select this, I'm going to set this to maximize on play. And now if I press play, I did not realize how small my roof was, but that's okay. I can crouch. And that lets us basically do that. Then with Probuilder, there's loads of other shapes we can make. So at the minute we have the cube shape selected. I'm going to click stair and create a stairs for us to get out of this room. The height of that might be okay. We'll see basically like how the height of this stairs is in a second. I want to try and then I'm going to hit build. I'm going to close that and I'm going to select these stairs. And I'm going to hit the V key. And I'm going to lock that to that corner. Okay, so that just like makes that stairs nice and tight to that corner. Now, those stairs at the minute, they are not much use to me because when we play the game, we're trapped. But yeah, I can't really get up those stairs, and the camera can kind of clip through them basically. So there's a few options there. Like obviously, I could make this the top of this room a bit shorter, so I could like select this face, and I could drag it back this way. And now we're able to escape this claustrophobic box. Cool. And then we can get out of there and we can fall back in. Okay. Now, there might be, let's say we wanted to do like a hole in the roof or something like that here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to show a couple of things before I jump into that. So I'm going to go back to object mode here in Probuilder. I'm going to select this button called Vertex Colors, and I'm going to set the color of the roof, let's say to, say this is green or something like that. Cool. Oh, sorry, I've selected both of those. Sorry, I just wanted the roof to be green, and then I maybe want. Oh, this is going to apply to children, but that's fine. To be grey. Let's make this. Let's say the staircase is black, and this cube for the roof I'm going to make green. We can change those colors if we want, but that basically lets me assign vertex colors, which means that we are assigning colors to part of that. One thing I can do here is if I select like the top face of this, and I make this yellow, sorry, that's not what I do. If I select the top vertices, which will be selected after I've selected the top face, and I set those to yellow, you'll see it basically blends the vertex color between these. Okay, so it's blending between green on the bottom and yellow on top, and it blends that at the edge. Cool. So then I do not love, well, like it's okay. I don't mind this, like these lines on the material. When we get into the mini golf tutorial, we'll kind of get rid of those lines basically, and we'll create a more simple material that just doesn't have, these lines are useful because they show us like 1 unity meter basically. But the other thing I wanted to show, and let me just make sure, close Probuilder, I did, is we can create like a poly shape. So if we want like something here to be like, let's say this sort of shape, we can create a chimney or something like that, whatever this might be. Okay, so we can create like custom sort of shapes. Yeah, okay, cool. And then I'm going to create just a cube here. And I'm going to set that to 1 by 1 by 1. Something like that. Lets me, even using vertex selection there, lets me like kind of lock that to the surface. I'm going to hit build. And then I'm going to create a cylinder. Up. Radius I'm going to set to 0.5. maybe 0.4. Number of sides, 8. Let's say I want to go 12, just to make it a bit more round. Height, 1, go, and build. And I'm just going to put that in like that, like it's kind of a chimney thing. Okay, one thing we can do is, if you've ever used 3D modeling software, you can do a thing called like Boolean Operations. There is an experimental feature inside in Probuilder that lets you do this. It works reasonably well, but we don't have it by default. So to get access to it, we need to go Edit, Preferences, and we have our preferences here for Probuilder. And here it says Experimental Features Enabled. We can tick that. And it might take a minute for that to... Cool. So it says there, Experimental Features Enabled. And then we can go Tools, Probuilder. You should see Experimental, and we can use the Boolean CSG tool. And basically this lets us select an object to subtract from another object. So we're going to select cool. I'm going to select that cube and the cylinder. And there's different things we can do here. So like there's the intersection, or we can do subtraction. So this is cube subtracts cylinder, which I think means that the cube subtracts the cylinder out of it. So if we hit apply, it's going to have created a new game object here. And one of the kind of funny things about this is we need to select two of these, move them out of the way. Oh. Did I hit apply? Yeah. Good. Ah, there's the game object. Sorry, it just wasn't really properly in view of the camera for some reason. Okay, let's just check and see if this looks okay when we go to the game. This is why it's a experimental feature, but it is quite convenient. The stairs are very bad. I apologize for my bad stairs. Some funny camera clipping happening at the moment, but basically I think, yeah, that should be there. Cool. So yeah, that shows us then that game object. I don't know why it's showing up like that, but yeah, it shows us that we can subtract those from one another, and I think they should show up properly in the game view. Then try that downwards. And we can see whether that gets picked up or not. Okay, there's something funny happening with the rendering of that, but I was messing with this last night and it was working fine. So again, it's one of those things that if you get an issue like that, you might just want to kind of try do it again and just see if it gives a better outcome. It is kind of an experimental feature, so it doesn't always work 100% of the time, but it generally does work a bit better than that. And that's kind of the key things. We can also do, we can do Bezier shapes, which means we can create like curves and stuff like that. So if we want to create tubes, we can create those. Yeah, can create additional curves along the tube. So it lets us do a lot of kind of cool 3D modeling type stuff. And I think that is the keys to this. And like then we're able to very quickly kind of build out a simple little scene. first person controller that we can move around inside, and this weird tunnel that we can try and hop through. Cool. And so that's the basics, or that's the kind of run through of Probuilder and Unity and kind of its fundamentals as well. So if there are any questions, feel free to pop them in the Discord channel.